Oh, wait, no longer greatness has arrived. Welcome to the Trophy Room, a PlayStation podcast made by the players for the players. I'm your host, Joseph, aka Mr. Badbit, and it is here where me and my best friend Kyle talk about the latest, the greatest in all things PlayStation each and every Thursday. Of course, you can listen to this show wherever you find your podcasts or on YouTube at the Trophy Room Show. And if you like what you hear, please consider dropping us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or throw us a buck our way over at patreon.com/PS Trophy Room. So with all that said, and with all that out of the way, the greatest co-host, whoever is, whoever will be, Mr. Kyle Stevenson, how are you, sir?
I'm doing fantastic, Joe. Yeah. Look at you, nailing it first try.
I know. Under pressure, and you know what? I feel good. I feel great.
Yeah, good.
How are you doing now?
I'm doing excellent. What a week. What a week on the Trophy Room.
Dude, it's been a lot, and the one thing that I've been looking at, like, across the week is everybody is pretending to be lawyers or just trying to understand law. It seems like with all, like, the Apple and the Epic cases that are happening at the moment.
Yeah.
What a clusterfuck.
Don't expect law talk on this week's episode.
Absolutely not. But we are going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about as well. Let me see here. The PlayStation partnership with Discord. We're going to be talking about how the PlayStation 4 has sold more than any other console in history. And we also have Greg Miller on the show.
Hey.
Hello.
Hi.
How are you guys?
Excellent.
I'm doing fantastic right now.
You fucking nail it, right? Of like, this is the week of all of us dorks putting on, be like, well, in court they said this, and that's what this means. And is it a monopoly? Well, Webster's dictionary defines monopoly. You know what the fuck we're talking about.
No idea. We had a couple of questions talking about like the deep legal stuff, and I'm like, dude, I'm a guy in a room.
Yeah.
Exactly. Again, I know bird law, and that's about it. That's as far as I go. But Greg Miller, welcome, co-host, co-founder of Kinda Funny Games. How are you doing, man?
I'm great, Joe. Thank you so much for having me, Kyle.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for coming.
So the big news this weekend from you, you're going to be a dad.
I am. Jen and I are expecting our first child. We were happy to announce that last Friday. Yeah, it's a weight off my shoulders to have it out there. You know what I mean? Because I think it was nice having that secret, right? But then there were some, my life is lived in front of the camera and speaking all the time. And so it was always that, going 90% there on what we were doing on this day or 90% there on what happened over the weekend and like why I'm, if I get a text, I'll run away, or if Jen needs help moving something or lifting something. It's nice to have it all out there now again. So I can live free and clear and not have it on my conscience.
Let me ask you 2 questions real fast.
Sure.
Because we always like to warm the guests up, getting to know them a little bit better. I know you never really wanted kids from what you've talked about on your podcast. You're never a big fan, me neither. But Jen kind of changed all that. When you got the news, when she's like, hey, Greg, I'm pregnant.
Yeah.
Well, how did that hit you?
Hard. If you're not familiar with my entire journey, I'm lucky enough to have been podcasting now and being in front of the camera for 14 years, give or take, in terms of what you define the camera. And I was very vocal for a long time that I did not want children, that was just not a future for me. And so, on my first date with my wife, we were out at the bar getting to know each other, and she mentioned, she wanted 1 or 2 kids. And in my head, I remember going, okay. And I remember then unpacking that for what felt like a week of just like, wait, why did I say okay in my head? Why did this? And my wife and I are that very strange movie relationship that we met and we knew that first night. Like we knew in those first moments that, oh my God, like we're going to be together forever. And so it was interesting to, in that week grapple with the fact of like, oh man, I guess it's just that it's not that I didn't want kids. It was always that in that stage of my life when that question was being asked of me, I didn't want kids. It wasn't an overall thing. It was very much in the moment thing and only being able to, know what you know in that moment. And so knowing in that moment with Jen that, we were fated to be together forever, like that was a whole new Pandora's box of emotions and feelings and futures and things like that. And so then to jump to 17 weeks ago now when awesome. We find out that she's actually pregnant, we talked about it on the Kind of Funny podcast, right? That comes after 1.5 years, 2 years of like trying to make this happen. And so it was that moment of for me it was the relief of it, right? When she walked out of the bedroom with the pregnancy test, she was crying, and I immediately went, okay, so it's another miss, because we had done this before. We had these, let's go do a test, and okay, nothing, or it didn't happen. And so the fact that she was crying and she handed it to me, it was that relief of, all right, finally. And then I remember embracing her. She was wearing a PSX shirt. I'll never forget it. Embracing her, right? And it was like, all right, cool. It's finally that next step. Maybe, obviously, first trimester so touchy, let alone pregnancy in general. Like even now we're not out of the woods, but it was a fantastic feeling.
Second question. Quick question. So,
quick question. That could have just ruined your entire podcast. We don't get to any of the video game news.
Britt Brombacher is pregnant. Andrea Renee pregnant. I believe Jeff Gerstmann announced that he's having.
That is correct. Yeah.
Right? Did you guys get together? Like, we're gonna make the next generation,
the future class
of gaming podcasts. Together, we'll raise the Teen Titans of podcasters.
We didn't then, but since then the conversation has come not so much even about that far as much as cool, at E3 2022 we're all chipping in on a nursery, right? Like we're all chipping in on a daycare. There's been jokes about getting a suite and having it staffed with people so that you can drop babies off, because even the names you've just talked about, right? There's so many people who are behind the scenes of the video game industry that are making the games we all care about and love, or covering the games we love, and so many other people who have reached out privately who are not announcing but are gonna have a baby too. You're coming off of very much this COVID check, and it's obviously what was it? I remember I grew up in Chicago, and so there'd always be these jokes about when there was a big snowstorm, right? Well, 9 months there's gonna be a bunch of kids, and COVID's so much more, I think, similar to the baby boom, right? Of there's this thing that, sure, we are all locked into rooms together, but more the fact that I think it was, especially for our industry and especially for both our side of the industry talking about games and the other side of the industry making games, our lives for the past year have been so dramatically different in the way of remember, I used to be on the road every other week, and I was lucky enough that usually Jen came with me because her job was those same events and things like that. But it was that thing where I think we punted. And so did so many other people in our industry, making a family, right, and really getting serious about that. And that's one of the things we talked about in the podcast was the idea that we had pulled the goalie, 6 months before 2020 started, and it was that thing of cool, but we weren't cool. Let's actually be serious and try about this. And so that's why there was that whole well, is something wrong with us and why we're not getting pregnant, or is it that we're not actually committed to watching schedules and doing this thing? And so I think that's really what happened, is that you saw this movement happen. It's we talk about the industry because it's weird that all of a sudden in this month, right, it's been the 4 people you just talked about. But it's gonna be, I think, an ongoing conversation in every industry.
Awesome. For sure. Well, again, thank you for being here. This is gonna be great. We have you for just under an hour, so let's get right into it. But before we do, it's time for our Patreon pitch. I want to thank our producers that make this show happen each and every week. I want to thank our forever platinum producer, Todd Burwitz, and Too Soon. I want to thank our gold members, Chaotic Monkey, Gavin Goffrey, Griffin, West, Jose, Jimenez, Jedi, Master Ren. Wait, I said that wrong. Jedi Master Ren. Metal Kirby. Our silver plus members, Hide Indoors, Marcus O'Neill. Oh, it's just right. JB, the Purple Monkey, Jadis Von Metal, Tim Ulf, and Justin Rodriguez. Thank you all so very much for becoming patrons each and every week. Y'all help us out. It's the reason why we look so good, sound so great. With all that said, with all that out of the way, Kyle, it's time to square up the news.
The first bit of news comes from Jim Ryan over at the SIE blog, announcing PlayStation's new partnership with Discord. At PlayStation, we're constantly looking for new ways to enable players around the world to connect with one another, form new friendships and communities, and share fun experiences and lasting memories. It's in this spirit that we're excited to announce a new partnership with Discord, the communication service popularized by gamers and used by more than 140 million people every month around the world. Together, our teams are already hard at work connecting Discord with your social and gaming experience on PlayStation Network. Our goal is to bring the Discord and PlayStation experiences closer together on console and mobile starting early next year, allowing friends, groups, and communities to hang out, have fun, and communicate more easily while playing games together. To bring these experiences to life for our players, Sony Interactive Entertainment has made a minority investment as part of Discord's Series H round. From our very first conversation with co-founders Jason Citron and Stan Vishnevsky, I was inspired by their lifelong love for gaming and our team's shared passion to help bring friends and communities together in new ways. Empowering players to create communities and enjoy shared gaming experiences is at the heart of what we do, so we are beyond excited to start this journey with one of the world's most popular communication services.
Oh my goodness. This is so weird because about a week or two ago, we're talking about Microsoft purchasing or in talks of purchasing Discord for about $11 billion. All of a sudden at the final hour, Discord kind of leaves that and says, no, we're going to kind of retain our independence. And yeah, a week now we see Discord's partnered up with PlayStation in a really unique way, but also a pretty vague way. So Nerd Guy Steve writes in, just like you can too, over on a PS Trophy Room on Twitter or on the Trophy Room Discord server. He writes in, how deep do you guys expect Discord integration to be? My guess is it'll start something like Spotify, where it's a standalone app, but it provides contextual buttons in the control center when in use. I'd love it to go deeper than that, as I play crossplay games daily, and I doubt Sony would do anything on the OS level. ... Right. So, Greg, I want to talk to you here on this one. Sure. Because, yeah, we've seen the Discord app on Xbox, and it's nothing to be wowed at. But as crossplay grows in popularity and more people using it, more hopefully developers using it, we'll get to that later. It seems like the one thing people desperately want is a way to talk to each other across platforms, and people begging it.
What a pain in the ass is it to sit there playing a game and have one headphone on for the game and one earbud in for Discord?
Absolutely. I have to do the trick where I'm using my capture card in order to get the gameplay in my friend's sound. So how deep do you see this integration being? Do you see it on the OS level? Because we know PlayStation. Do we really see that it's going to be baked into the OS some way, or do you think it's, the Discord app is on the home screen?
I think Nerd Guy Steve nails it. I think it'll be baked in the same way Spotify is, and which I think is great. You know what I mean? I use Spotify all the time on my PlayStation 5 when I'm playing something and I want to have tunes in the background. And I think that's how the easiest way to make this work, right? Again, this is a minority share that they've got in it. It's not something they have full blown with it. It is just a partnership. And so to sit there and say, okay, cool, you're going to go in and completely retool the OS and the messaging and the parties and all that stuff, not a chance. I think if that was going to happen, it would be something like when PlayStation bought Gaikai and made PlayStation Now. That's the kind of move you'd see. And then it would be, even then, I think it would be a firmware update in many years, or when they get to PlayStation 6 and they want to integrate it from a ground up there. I think here you're going to see it as this very vague thing happens. You're going to see probably a very crappy version come out next year sometime and slowly get better over time.
Kyle, do you see this happening? Do you see this being baked into the OS, or is it something like in the quick menu?
In the game bar at the bottom?
Right at the game bar, right at the bottom, right next to Spotify.
I think it's probably going to be like a Spotify level app. What I would love for it to do, like it'd be great to talk to friends across systems when you're playing. I would love to have just a Discord for, like, let's say us here or Greg with the Kind of Funny Best Friends, and have different channels of like, hey, you're playing Fall Guys, just hop in there and people can hop in and out as they go. Like Discord usually is like this one, or any Discord really, where you can just have an open channel for playing games with each other and people can hop in and out. I think that would be rad, and I think that would be really cool for communities, to make it even easier for communities to get together and play games with each other. Like, you don't have to worry about making a time or whatever. You're just in this Discord channel and people can hop in and out whenever they want.
It'd be so better than what we have right now when it comes to parties on PlayStation. I hate the recent change, Greg. I don't know if you've been dabbling in the parties, but it's like, you don't.
I use it in a very specific way, so I like it. But I understand that if you're in multiple parties with multiple groups and multiple things, that's when it gets bogged down, right?
Yeah. How do you use it very specifically? Like for
streams? No, not even for that. It's strictly for fun times. So what it is that, I have my group that we have like the Avengers group that we have with me, Tam, Goldfarb, Sean Norton. Then I have a Kind of Funny group that's all, that I, even on PS4, I had this just group that I could, at quick, because it was so hard to use friends list, a quick glance, see what everybody in the company was up to. So now it is that thing of, okay, cool. We've had it so many times where, Joey, Kevin, and Barrett are playing Fortnite. They're in the Kind of Funny chat room there. I jump in. I start playing with them. I join the voice chat, but then I'm like, all right, cool, I'm done playing Fortnite. I pop out and start playing something else, but I'm still in the Kind of Funny party chat line there that's going that way. It has all the problems, of course, that, then, Joey adds her friend to play Minecraft Dungeons with somebody else in there, so now they're in the group too. And it's not that I care that they're in the group, but it's
It's like you
what I
want
love
them gone.
Sorry.
I said, but you want them gone because they don't belong
Yeah,
there.
I mean, honestly, what it reminds me more of when you look at how PlayStation does their parties is like the baby's first Discord, where it's doing so many things like Discord, but not nearly as fully featured and so many different cumbersome
And that's what gets
aspects to
me
it.
really excited because I use Discord a lot. The mobile app constantly messes up. I'm constantly losing my notifications, but we use it as our primary way of talking to our audience. And what better way of like, you don't have to necessarily add me as a friend. You just join the Discord, join the party chat, and you're with us on a stream. Like, to me,
and that's what you're talking about, for like when we're streaming something, how convoluted it is for me to bring in a kind of funny best friend to a PlayStation thing. I'm like, well,
Exactly.
I gotta add you, or I type out your name, whereas Discord, it's easier to drop you in, give you the key, do whatever we're going for.
And it just makes it so much simpler. The one thing Kyle and I actually use the parties for is the share screen.
Yeah.
The share screen is a lifesaver at times.
Like even for like charity streams that I've done over at 6-1 Indie, like be able to share my screen from my PS5 to Mike's screen and then have him stream that out for everybody and have it like works way better than I ever thought it could work. Yeah. And something I never thought I would use.
Lucy James, former roommate and of course GameSpot editor or whatever, I don't know what her title is, big wig at GameSpot. Like that was her thing, for her being in America and having all her friends back in the UK. Lots of times they'd be in a group party playing Overwatch, but then like Simon Cardy would be playing Bloodborne and he would share his screen with them, so as they're playing their game in between matches they can see what he's doing, or if he ran into something, had a question, they could just look down at it.
Yeah, Bloodborne, it's a great game. 2,234 days since the original launch. I didn't just type that, I just know it.
My God.
It's in my blood, it's in my mind every episode. So that said, let's get into the next story because I have a question that kind of ties into both of these right here. So take it away, Kyle.
Rebecca Smith over at PS Lifestyle writes, more PS4 games sold than any other console in history with more than 1.5 billion units sold. Sony set a new record for the gaming industry with revenue achieved during the 2020 fiscal year. Amongst the many records, both personal and industry-wide, that were broken during the period is the number of games sold on a single console in video game history. There have now been 1.577 billion PS4 games sold over its lifetime, beating the previous record set by the PlayStation 2. Throughout the 2020 fiscal year, nearly 339 million games were sold between the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5, an increase of 22% from the year prior that smashed Sony's previous record set during fiscal year 2018. That figure included 58.4 million games published by Sony themselves, including The Last of Us Part 2, Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales, and Demon's Souls. Digital gaming continues to make up a huge percentage of those sales, most likely due to lockdown measures through the pandemic that have created an overall surge in the gaming space. Q4 2020 sales were 79% digital, while the overall year averaged 65% digital. This is an increase of 12% from the previous year and the second year in a row that digital sales outweighed physical sales. The PlayStation Store made more than $13.71 billion throughout fiscal year 2020, its biggest year ever. Reset Era member Arm Gunner made the figures look even more impressive when he worked out the daily sales figures. On average, over 600,000 games were sold through the PlayStation Store every day throughout the year. That's just under 7 games per second. Including retail figures and other digital sellers, that figure increases to 933,000 games sold every day, or 10.75 games per second.
Absolutely wild. Absolutely stupidly impressive. When we're talking about the sales of this console, I always thought, we always thought the PlayStation 4 a huge success for PlayStation. Never, because we oftentimes put the PlayStation 4 or any console right next to like the Wii or the PlayStation 2 in terms of units sold. So you never think the number is going to be that high. But even it outselling game wise, unit wise to the PlayStation 2 is incredibly impressive. And, the last couple of weeks, we kind of were a little bit in doom mode of like, what's going on at PlayStation? Is everything...
Xbox keeps knocking it out of the park with all these announcements and partnerships.
Exactly, right? And then you also see like PlayStation go, we're going to close down some stores. So, we just see their communication kind of just almost non-existent, or maybe just speak in very like vague messages that really don't really mean much, or announce studios that don't even have logos. Like, it's been a weird few weeks. It's just a thing that exists.
Yeah.
So Metal Kirby writes in. He says, "Hello, gentlemen, and welcome to the show, Greg. I know this is a PlayStation show, but my question comes from the internet documents revealed during the Apple v. Epic case, where Microsoft had a review of The Last of Us Part 2 released. They said, in short, the overall presentation is significantly ahead of anything other teams have been producing on console and PC. They go on to complain about the gunplay, which I think is BS. But my question is this. Is it pure quality of titles like The Last of Us Part 2 that will keep Sony ahead of Microsoft? Or do you think Microsoft's new approach is trying to buy everything will work out? And I don't even think just buying everything, just Game Pass in itself. Do you feel like all PlayStation needs to do is just start cranking out these blockbusters? I mean, we saw it with Returnal this week, though. It's been a rocky road patch wise, but like people are really loving that game. We're excited about Ratchet. So what do you think, Greg? Do you think that the if it ain't broke, don't fix it approach is going to work for Sony, or they need to start adapting?
This is the $1 million question. And it's that thing that I know I've been saying it, I feel like, for what feels like 2 years of like, oh, this is where it gets really interesting. Oh, I can't wait to see what happens when this starts happening. But we're there where obviously, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And, as much as we all sit there, and I'm talking about not even us as podcasters, us as fans who read IGN every day and look at this stuff and live it on Twitter every moment we can. You sit there and, like, we're talking on PS I Love You a few weeks ago, like a question of, when's PlayStation getting a big W? Like, we've seen Xbox do this stuff over and over again, all these announcements. And it's like, well, the big W is all the money they're making hand over fist, and the fact that PS5 can't stay in stock, and the fact that I'm sure Returnal is selling so incredibly well because people are excited for it. PlayStation has gotten to that point with what they're doing. You expect greatness, and so now when greatness gets there, it's not that big of a deal. It's not that big of news. You know what I mean?
It's just something you come to expect. Exactly.
Yeah. And so the real question for me is what happens when Xbox starts delivering. You talk about, PlayStation, throughout the PS4 and into the PS5, and now they will continue to. Yep, these Sony first-party studios, PlayStation studios, even when they're partnered with somebody who's second-party, third-party, you're going to see these great games that we expect to be great and that we are going to be great. What happens when Xbox really does get its first exclusive 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10? When it gets something that we all go, holy shit, Perfect Dark is insane. Holy shit, Halo Infinite is insane. Senua's Saga. Thank you very much. I can't keep them straight ever. Same here. This is a must play from the ground up. Holy shit thing, and it's only $15 if you want to get Game Pass this month, and you can play it through the cloud. You don't have an Xbox, doesn't matter. Play it on your PC through their web portal. Play it on your iPhone through they've set up all these dominoes that if they can just get the first party titles going, they start falling. I feel at that point it's like a rabbit in a trap where it's like they've got PlayStation, and PlayStation, it's too late for PlayStation to get out from underneath that. Right now, PlayStation has the titles, they have the machine, they have a really dedicated audience that is buying games, that has an attach rate, that is there for it. But what happens when Xbox's plan actually starts working and actually gets executed, I should say. At that point, PlayStation tries to pivot and put them on PS Now, or doesn't, or they ignore it for so long that Xbox has got this huge wave of momentum.
And I think, like what you said is 100% right. What if Halo Infinite comes out? It's an illegal word here, but I'll allow it for myself. It is a banger, right? And then you get Starfield comes out afterwards, and Starfield's also great. Fable, Forza, and then all of a sudden you see Microsoft's vision come to fruition, and Sony is starting to sweat. And I feel like at least in the first, we have about a year or two where PlayStation can start or has room to improve on the service aspect. Because you're right, the games, we expect them to be great. We expect them to be mind-blowing and earth-shattering and all that. But what we expect now is that PlayStation Now is actually a service that is worth a damn, and not all just getting like 1080p on some games. So we expect it to be a really fluid and actual working service. So my question is, when we look back at the last topic, the partnership with Discord, is that, and I'll go to Kyle first, Is that how we see PlayStation navigate around Microsoft? They don't have the money. They don't have the bank. What they do have, though, is a maneuverability as a smaller company, as we've seen in their production side of things, right? Partnering with Netflix, partnering with Disney Plus. Do you see that going ahead with the PlayStation side of things? Them going, okay, so we need to, I don't know, build up PlayStation Plus. So maybe we'll put, Discord Nitro as a PlayStation Plus perk. Is that how they do that? Is this just with partnerships instead of buyouts?
I think it doesn't hurt. It won't hurt for them doing it this way. Discord Nitro thing would be interesting, being a PS Plus.
It'd be
That'd be an
nice.
awesome benefit.
It would be great. I think this is a way to go about it. Like, they obviously don't have the money to buy an entire publishing arm like Microsoft did with Bethesda. But I think they can be smart enough to make these smaller moves that are more of like a quality of life thing, to just make your experience on PlayStation even better every single moment you're on it and playing games or enjoying your entertainment. Just make it be the go-to place, which is odd for me to say that, because that was what we all made fun of Microsoft for doing with the Xbox One, right? With the integration with the TV and everything. But like, truly, like, times are changed. Like, it is now, like, Microsoft, props to them. They were really ahead of the game there, where they wanted it to be the place where you get all your media from. And I think it's smart to continue making these strategic partnerships for quality of life improvements, while, like Greg was saying, and what we've been saying forever, just like keep, and I'm gonna use the word because you use it, keep putting out those bangers first party. Like, that's and whatever the third party deals of exclusive games that they're bringing to Sony, like that is going to carry them.
And that's what, this all goes back to the story you just did on PlayStation 4 game sales, right? The reason PlayStation won last generation was that their message was simple. This is a games machine. Come here to play great games. And Xbox One's message was convoluted and about TV and about the and it was ahead of its time in many ways. You know what I mean? I do think that I would have loved to have seen the alternate reality where they said, no, we understand you don't get this. We're doubling down. This is what we believe in. But the problem was clearly no one believed in it, and they backed off and screwed themselves over.
Yeah.
And so, like, we talk about all these partnerships and Discord and that and blah, blah, and it's like, at the end of the day, it all comes down to games. And so really, I think we can talk about all the different programs and all the different like partnerships, but it really comes down to, if Xbox's first party delivers, does the Game Pass game deal, the whole library, does that sway it? Does that move it? And I talk about this all the time on the shows. I know you guys, it's a broken record for you, but like, for years I've heard this whole thing of like, man, games are so expensive. And, Greg, you're privileged, and I know I am privileged to review these games and get them ahead of time and get all this stuff for free. But like, I have to make a choice on what I play. And so like, I feel like at some point the rubber's got to meet the road. And if Xbox has this first party and Bethesda's all exclusive and Initiative's making this thing and the Coalition's making this thing, and you are getting amazing experiences there, at what point do you say, well, shit, I should buy an Xbox. I should buy Game Pass. I should stick on this platform.
And you're already starting to kind of see that as well, because you're seeing people go out there and go, you know what? I'll buy like a Series S. I'll see what this is all about. And I'll use my PlayStation as my hub, but I'll use my Xbox Series S as, my secondary. And how many people I've seen switch over saying, you know what, I like my PlayStation, but the deal is just, it's just too irresistible. And I feel like at that point, you're right, it comes down to the games. But even at that point, it's like $70 for Last of Us Part 3 in how many years? Or $15 and I get this catalog of not just my Xbox Series games, but my One and my 360 as well. Do you just then see PlayStation just going, you know what? All right, fuck it, let's do it. Day one on some of our games, or do you see them?
Yeah, I mean, you assume, but I feel like they would have, that is such a last resort. And that's what I talk about, where it's going to be interesting years of this, because it's not going to be in the next 6 months a light switch. Okay, cool, we flipped and that's what we're doing. It's going to be this war of attrition where you see more and more people go to Xbox and more people understand Game Pass is great, because that's, as we've talked about before, right, what the idea of this is. It is I got 1 month of Game Pass for free. I'm going to go over there and play whatever this hot game from Xbox first party is. We're talking about it. They beat that in a week and they're like, man, this was fun. And here's this game I've heard so much about that I can play for free. And then they stay longer and longer and longer. And suddenly it is that you sit down after work and, you got an hour to play something before you go to bed and you're not turning on your PlayStation, you're turning on your Xbox. Yeah. And that is the war Xbox is trying to win. And that's a war of attrition. That is not an overnight, salvo that ends everything. That is slowly but surely working their way up this mountain to make people go, oh man, no, I have a PlayStation. I just play my exclusives on it, right? I play everything else on Xbox.
Yeah. And it's about getting you into that ecosystem and locking you in, whether you're aware of it or not. If you have a PlayStation, you're only using it for the exclusives, and you're just primarily playing whether it's like just your third party games on Xbox or whatever have you, Xbox is winning that fight because they have you there. They're going to get your microtransactions and all that jazz as well. So yeah.
Look at I didn't look ahead, but I mean, look at the stuff that came out of this Apple Epic thing with Tim Sweeney talking about having to pay PlayStation for cross-platform stuff, right? And that isn't the fact everywhere. So Epic would prefer you to play your Fortnite over on Xbox. They will never say that, of course, and there's a million different things going on it, but I'm sure that's the truth, and I'm sure Xbox would love that too. And it is about making those deals and partnerships.
So with that, you know what? Let's just transition to it. Let's get into the next news story. Unless, Kyle, anything you'd like to add on this?
No, if people are going to pick Xbox over PlayStation, I think Greg will agree with me on this one. You're missing out on some really cheap platinums if you do that.
Oh yeah,
and that's a reason to stay on PlayStation.
Do you understand how much fun it is to get platinum trophies? Like, come on, guys.
Absolutely.
Don't do this.
If it's a game you love, go for it, grind it out. But I saw something disgusting one night. Kyle had 8 platinum trophies, and they're all the Breakout series or Breakthrough, whatever.
That's how you do it. See, you say if it's a game you love. Yeah. What if the game I love is getting trophies?
Thank you.
You understand that it's an XP bar filling in. I'm leveling up as I go. I am living the RPG. Do you understand that? The game of playing games is a game itself, and I'm playing it right now, Joe.
And I like to view it as cheap platinums are my cheat day. I use it as my cheat day. I play my diet. I play the main games, but like.
See, my thing is I play so many other games, and it's like, I enjoyed this game, but I'm never going back for the platinum and stuff, right? Like that. So I'm not getting the satisfaction. So yeah, some days that's me eating my greens. That's me, working out, and then I get to sit there. You're saying they just binge them out. Yeah. Well, I watched Burlesque one. It was one of my favorite New Year's days. I'm hungover. Jen's got Burlesque on, and I'm just knocking out cheap Vita plats. It was brilliant.
No,
fantastic.
See, I have a rule. Like if a game like I played Abzu and Abzu doesn't have a trophy, a platinum trophy, which is disgusting. It should. I was like, okay, then I'll go buy the Breakthrough game, and Colin and I will play that for patrons and get a plat that way. That's where I use cheap plats. And if it's I Am Mayo. And then that's where I draw the line. After I Am Mayo, and we get into the Breakthrough, and then they have for some reason Bible verses in there as well. It's like, okay, I don't need religion in my platinum trophies. Thank you very much. But with that, Kyle, let's get into the crossplay confidential documents and all that such.
Tom Warren over at The Verge writes, Sony really hated PS4 crossplay. Confidential documents reveal. It's no secret that Sony held back PS4 cross-platform play for years, but new confidential documents and emails reveal just how much Sony was against letting people play the same games with their friends on other platforms. Sony initially blocked cross-platform play for both Rocket League and Minecraft, despite Nintendo and Microsoft both enabling players to play across Xbox and Switch. The issue really blew up when Sony blocked Fortnite crossplay in 2018, and players were angry. It now appears that Sony may have been holding out to offset potential revenue losses. In the months leading up to Sony's decision to block Fortnite crossplay in 2018, Epic Games had pleaded with Sony to enable crossplay emails in the Epic Games versus Apple case reveal. Quote, I can't think of a scenario where Epic doesn't get what we want. That possibility went out the door when Fortnite became the biggest game on PlayStation, said Joe Kreiner, Epic's vice president of business development. Kreiner proposed, we announced crossplay in conjunction with Sony. Epic goes out of its way to make Sony look like heroes. Epic even offered to brand its E3 presence with PlayStation or add unique characters exclusive to PS Plus subscribers to sweeten the deal. Let's make this a huge win for us all. Epic's not changing its mind on the issue, so let's just agree on it now, said Kreiner. Sony didn't agree. But as of August 2019, it appears that Sony may have found a worthy argument, a way to potentially siphon off money from its competitors in exchange for access to PlayStation players. Epic Games CEO Tim Sweeney confirmed in testimony today that Sony is the only platform holder that requires this compensation for crossplay. Quote, in certain circumstances, Epic will have to pay additional revenue to Sony, said Sweeney. If somebody were primarily playing on PlayStation but paying an iPhone, then this might trigger compensation, end quote. Sweeney also revealed that Epic had to agree to pay these additional fees to Sony in order to enable crossplay in Fortnite. Sony also stipulates in the policy that publishers can't transfer virtual currency to or from PlayStation, and that there must be a setting to disable all cross-platform interactions.
Oh my god! What a
talking about your
Penny
all this
much?
dirty laundry getting drug out, and it's like,
Absolutely.
you feel for everybody involved.
Absolutely, it is just in there's an awesome article by Rebecca Valentine about like why is the video game industry so secretive, and you kind of get to see why. It is at the end of the day just a bunch of lawyers in suits. That said, I got a question for Greg.
Yeah,
most famous Sheamus you've ever met in your life. Who do you think that might be? If you had to name one Sheamus.
I mean, Sheamus from WWE.
Wrong. It's this famous Sheamus. Famous Sheamus writes in, the most famous Sheamus I've ever met in my entire life, period, end of discussion. He writes, what are your thoughts on Epic and maybe other companies having to pay Sony to enable crossplay? Do you think this has/will damage PlayStation's relationship with developers, particularly those that are focused on multiplayer games and want to do crossplay? Greg, what are your thoughts on that, my man?
It's a big question, right?
Yeah.
And I'm also going through Kyle's trophies and adding all these break heads to heads here. I missed
Oh,
these.
yeah, man.
You two
Is there a guide or is
The
it like
brick breaker.
self-explanatory how to platinum it? And why is it only the head-to-heads? Because there's ones that aren't head-to-heads.
Because the other ones are, they're harder trophies. They'll
no, I
take
don't
you
want
longer.
that.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
just St. Patrick's Day head-to-head.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's a loaded question, right? Where is this? So to jump into like the middle of it, right? Does this turn developers off to it? No. And you know why? Because this isn't news to developers. This is news to us. This is news to the public, right? We always talk, I made a joke about this of like, we always talk about wanting to be the fly on the wall in a video game boardroom, right? Like that's what this is. These are the conversations that are happening there. And as we talked about on Games Daily, like, man, this is shitty to see it spelled out that way, but it's also PlayStation's prerogative as a business to make money. And it's not that they're like screwing people over. It's them, originally having this stance and then finding a way. Because, one of the quotes in there from Gio in the email, right, is like, no one can, everybody says this is good for gamers, but nobody's explaining how this is good for PlayStation from a business perspective. Yeah. And of course, as I pointed out on my show really quick on Games Daily, right, like clearly I've known Gio a long time. That is him towing the company line. He is a boss, right? I'm sure there's a conversation many levels above him where he's like, all right, fine, this is like what it is. But I'm sure that's what they're saying, so that's what he's saying. So it is that idea of how do you make this make financial sense? And they found a way. And so I have so many mixed emotions about the entire thing of like, what a shitty look. I wish you were just going to be for gamers. But I get that you're a company, but I get that this is still shitty for the developer. But I get that you made it work. Like in the end, they made it work. Did they make it work in the way we'd all like to believe, which is, hey, this is clearly us looking stupid for not doing this. We should do this. No, that wasn't how they did it. It was we look stupid, but we want to make money. Oh, you figured out a way to make money? All right, let's do it. Yeah. It is what it is. I'm glad it happened. I think it's, a weird way. I'd love to know if they're doing that for everyone, right? Well, is that very much we know this through the Fortnite lens, and of course, as I think in all the stuff that rolled out, right? Fortnite made how many billions of dollars for Epic over 2 years? Like
$9 billion,
something, right? Yeah. Like clearly, there's a lot of money to be made, and so PlayStation, of course, doesn't want you buying your things on your iPhone. But for a Rocket League, are they busting their chops that exact same way? For like the other games that are crossplay that are out there, like is that really how they're still doing it?
See, my thought is like, what about the smaller games, maybe the indie-ish games? Because I know it's like you had to pay some type of like $1 million dollars, which is just what a fucking number, to go in and enable crossplay. And that's just the start of it. Again, all those other things that you had to listen to as well. I wonder for the games like Fall Guys. Fall Guys announced crossplay, but they announced that they didn't include PlayStation in the verbiage. They're like, yeah, it's coming to Xbox and Switch. and it'll have crossplay between those platforms. And maybe I read it wrong, and my dyslexia is fucking me up something fierce. But
yeah, I'm pulling out because I thought it was just vague. I thought it was very much that, hey, Xbox and Switch are delayed, but we're confirming crossplay, and they didn't say anything in terms of who the crossplay was.
They're also now part of Epic, I believe. So
yeah, they are.
So, you're right. You know what? Then I'm a big dumb idiot. But what about Pyre? Okay, there's still life in that game. Right? What about the indie
Tons
games
of
that-
life in and that's people are always like, what Hades? No, thank you. Well, let's talk about Pyre. That's the one we're talking about.
Exactly.
Right now.
Well, yeah. Well, like, what about the smaller studios? And Kyle, I want to go to you on this. What's the conversation? What's the temperature in the room between Epic and PlayStation right now? Because Seamus was just like, how does it affect the relationship between PlayStation and the developers? I really wonder what's the relationship right now looking between PlayStation and Epic. Because I put in on Twitter the like Michael Scott looking at Toby going, yeah. That's the feeling I'm getting, Kyle.
I mean, I can understand that, but also I think the relationship is fantastic because then they just give Epic like some millions of dollars.
Yeah, 250.
I think that's the second one too. Like before I think they sent them even more money.
The Verge, July 9th, 2020. Sony buys $250 million stake in Fortnite creator Epic Games. The deal means Sony gets 1.4% interest in the game development. Maybe that was the first one, or if they did more. But
sure, yeah. But yeah, I think it's strong because I mean, obviously they want to tie it to Epic and really see what Unreal Engine 5 is going to do and how that will help out games in the future. I think the relationship is strong. I think it's just like little nuisance, like someone like a little kid poking at you, like, hey, where's my money so you can go play with all other people? Because
the way that I've been hearing it, the way I've been seeing it is like, this court case is particularly not good for any of the parties involved. It's not a good look whatsoever. Everybody has black eyes from it, totally. Except for like Phil Spencer. He seems like a real sweet dude that wants.
Phil Spencer, like, put out all my emails. I'll publish them myself. Like, don't worry about it.
Put them out. But it's kind of like when you see two friends have an argument and they're like, back me up on this, Greg. And you're like, I'd like
to stay out of this,
please. I'd like to put Game Pass on your device. That's about it. But yeah, I think you're right there, Kyle. Like, they're still making money. It's just them going, "Ooh, I'd rather not this be aired out right now, or possibly ever. That'd be fucking great."
Yeah.
That was the thing, and you talk about Rebecca Valentine's reporting, right? And the secrecy of it, where like the courts weren't prepared for as many video game people to come to them and be like, holy shit, please don't put that out there, right? Because it was after that Monday where everything went out there, all this shit went out, and people were like, uh-oh, problems ahead. Yeah. And so, it's that thing where, the Michael Scott gift's funny, but I really do feel it's everybody going like, fuck. Like, I don't think it's so much you can be mad at Epic about it as much as you're like, this sucks in this situation.
Yeah. And for me, I'm right there with you. I think like when I take a look at like why video games are so secretive, or why so many people are jumping in, it's oftentimes we wonder how the bread's made, but when we actually take a look at how the bread's made, it's actually just kind of boring and insidious in most ways, and this very much, go for it.
The industry puts so much on itself in terms of like the secrecy, because that's how it's always been, right? And it is that thing of, does the fact that I know that the next Spider-Man movie has all these different Spider-Men in it and all this stuff and yada, yada, yada. And does any of that take away from my enjoyment or my excitement for the next Spider-Man? Fuck no. And this is a 2-hour thing. So like, it's so interesting because games are so much different than movies, right? Where it would be that if games wanted to come out and be like, guess what? This game is getting made, and yet then you have the never-ending cycle of every time that publisher talks or developer talks about anything, they're asked if that game's there, and then when that game gets canceled, what went wrong, and it's a thing, and blah, blah. The game got delayed. Well, we never officially announced it was actually coming. Like, there's so many different pieces to the puzzle, and we only know marketing from such a pinhole response. It'd be interesting to see more games be like similar to something like Broken Age, which is like, hey, we're doing this, and you'll see it years from now, but we're working on it.
Yeah. Or you could do the thing like Psychonauts is doing. It's just like, we'll announce it, and now we're about to like just shadow drop it apparently this month. Nothing crazy. Like, that's awesome. Yeah, just give me when the game's coming out. Make it not this like 3-4 year wait, and then bam, we're good to go.
Oh, that's what we loved about Fallout, right? Where Fallout was like, okay, cool. We're not doing the giant lead up. It's here's the look of the game, and it's out this fall. Great, awesome.
Yeah. That said, Kyle, let's get to the last major news of the week. Take it away, good sir.
Zarmina Khan over at PlayStation Lifestyle writes, Sony registers trademark for Insomniac Games' Xbox console exclusive Sunset Overdrive. Known insider and Twitter user Nibelian has spotted a trademark registration for Sunset Overdrive filed by Sony Interactive Entertainment. The status update on United States Patent and Trademark Office is dated April 26, 2021. Insomniac Games previously confirmed that it owns the IP. Fans have been hoping for a PlayStation release ever since the studio was acquired by Sony. However, Sunset Overdrive remains an Xbox console exclusive to date. It's also available on PC. Whether that's set to change or not is anybody's guess, but the trademark update sure has fans hoping for a PlayStation release. Interestingly, there have been rumors of PS4 and PS5 editions, but they remain unsubstantiated.
Whole lot of he said, she said. But you don't just throw a trademark out. I don't care. We know, like, look, we got the Apple van. We've seen it in the wild. There's Blueprint. It's like a Dodge Intrepid. It's great. We're excited about it. It's real. How real is this? Emmett Watkins Jr. writes in, if we do get a Sunset Overdrive 2 or a remaster of the first game, do you think it'll hit Xbox as well? Also, what new concepts do you hope end up in the next game? Insomniac has done a lot since dropping that gen back in 2014. So, Greg, is this real? Do you think it is?
It's a real trademark for sure. And what gets convoluted when we talked about it on Games Daily, someone wrote into You're Wrong and was like, this is kind of getting blown out of proportion. It was that Insomniac had filed for it, then Sony bought Insomniac. It's like that just the way trademarks work, that it's now official, but it's not a big deal. Like they just did this thing. The thing is that was put in You're Wrong, and the way they explained it made sense. I've seen no one retract or update stories about it. And granted, that is, I think, a little bit of a problem with our industry, where I've published the article because it was hot, and now we're on to the next thing, and nobody cares about a follow-up, and maybe I'm painting with a broad brush. The interesting thing here, even to remove, okay, cool, this is the timeline or whatever, is the fact that Sunset Overdrive is something that still exists. And it went to Steam, and that was what maybe this was all tied into, and then the buyout, and yada, yada, yada. But what does that mean for PlayStation owning Insomniac? What does that mean for then Sunset Overdrive coming somewhere? My gut would tell me nothing. I don't think...
Don't hurt me like that.
I'm sorry. Like I wish it was a Sunset Overdrive 2. There's not that much juice for Sunset Overdrive. And even the juice that it has is so much tied up into
all about
it being...
juice. It's got a ton of juice, Greg.
I know. There's a lot of juice in the game, for sure. But... it's not something people clamor for. And so Insomniac fucking destroying right now with this Ratchet that just looks gorgeous, destroying with Miles Morales, let alone whatever they're working for Spider-Man 2. You assume, knock on wood, they have a team doing something for PSVR 2 with all the VR stuff they did. I just don't see them being like, you know what else we need too? Sunset Overdrive. Like, let's get that out there. It almost doesn't seem to fit Sony's MO for what they're making the first parties do and what they're having the first parties do. And so... I think it's really just this whole thing of, we need to keep the trademark relevant. I don't think it's something that's going to come up, but I'd love to be wrong. I'd love to see that game get a second life.
Yeah.
Kyle, give me hope. Greg just killed it all. Tell me this game's coming.
I would love it because that was the only reason why I bought an Xbox a few years ago, just to play it on Game Pass.
I bought the white one when the Xbox One first came out.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
Oh, yeah. I'd never finished it. I played a bunch of it. It feels great to play. It's a great game. It's very fun. Yeah. I would love to play it on PlayStation, especially, getting trophies in that game would be great. But Insomniac's doing so much right now. I don't think, even though I don't know how hard it is to do a remaster of a game that's already been made, but I want them to do another Resistance before this game. Let's put it that way.
I heard if you yell at a developer loud enough, they'll do what you want. That's what Twitter says.
I've heard.
Can we get a change.org petition going? Yeah, we'll really shake things up out there.
Hey, listen, we got a change.gov petition for Bloodborne 2. We're making it happen. 34 signatures signed, Greg. We're getting there. All right, we're gonna make
any
this dream
second
a
now. It'll
reality.
be there.
Yeah, Miyazaki's gonna come out. He's like, all right, gang, we got permission. We're doing it. But yeah, God, Greg, you did deflate me. It does make sense because
I could be wrong.
Game,
maybe maybe I'm taking this "you're wrong" too much to heart, but it is just such a weird choice where it's not. I mean, like with Sunset Overdrive, and I talked about on the show, like, right, I loved it in previews. I was very excited for it on my Xbox, and then when reviews hit, and they were like, "Oh, it's fine," but it's kind of what Kyle's talking about. Of like a lot of you could play the whole thing and not beat it. That's not what it's about. And I'm like, oh well, I've already played a bunch. I'll put it off till later, and never got back to it. And so I feel like there's warm memories for it, but it's not like that will sell units. That will be a big AAA thing we need.
And I think the cool thing about that game was like the traversal in that game was fantastic.
Yeah.
But they've made it so much better in Spider-Man.
Totally.
It's way
and
more
you
fun
see it
to-
even
yeah.
in Ratchet, right? Like the how quick that is now, and the hopping around to do everything differently.
Yeah.
I don't know.
My soul hurts.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do it to you, Joe.
I know. Because I love this game. I have a lot of appreciation for it. But you're right. Like, does it actually fit the catalog that is PlayStation?
Yeah.
Or the vibe of? And I don't think it does, sadly. That said, Kyle, it's time to hop on the Sony Pony Express.
Yeehaw!
See here, listen here, Greg. We got
Oh God, there's a voice too.
He always does voices.
By God, listen, the voices could go anywhere. They
By
could go
God.
like this. That's right. By God, by gollies. I made a bunch of tubes around this here world. You can send
Don't
your
go in
questions
depth.
in via email. You can send your questions in via PS Trophy Room on Twitter. Or you can send your email or your questions over to the Trophy Room Discord server. I do declare.
That's a good voice. That's a
Thank
good
you.
voice, everybody.
I do a good Barack. People don't believe me, but I don't have the voice now because you know what? I just said it and now I'm gonna.
That's the worst when you say it. Malia.
Sasha Malia. The good
Damn,
kids.
that is good.
I know. It's what I do. Anyway, let's get into. Let's do Luke Lore's question over at the Xbox expansion pass, which Luke Lore is a terrible human being. He's the worst,
Wow.
and I hate his guts. Yeah.
Okay.
He's also a terrific human being. I regret everything. Nah, he still sucks. Kind of Funny has gone through some major changes since the founding. How has your approach to friendships, business ethics, and content delivery changed? Thank you for taking the time to use your voice to spotlight others working their way. Don't suck up, Luke. Don't do that.
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I mean, I would think it's interesting. I guess on all of them, they've grown and evolved. That would be the easy top level answer, right? Ethics, I think, is the same ethics we had from that very first stream when we were asked what are our ethics, and it was like, oh, like, well, if we do something, you'll know about it, right? Like, I'd like to think we're good about that, and I like to think that we address that stuff head on. So it is that we're doing a sponsored stream for this thing. We're doing a sponsored, and you know we're doing sponsored. And then when I'll see somebody on the Reddit or if it's live on a chat, call it out, I'd be like, well, remember, like, we say no to lots of people. Like, I know everybody's always like, oh, kind of funny. Not everybody, but people, detractors, kind of funny. They'll just do anything that comes out. I'm like, oh no, we actually say no to a lot of stuff because we'll look at a game and it's not our jam, or somebody will want us to say something and we're always like, that's not what this is about. Like, right? Like when we do a piece of sponsored content, it is that we're legitimately interested in the product and they understand that we're going to be us about it. Like if it ever was to come out and not be us about it, we wouldn't do it because, we deal in authenticity. That's what we trade in.
Yeah.
And so that's been the same, but it's evolved obviously as we've, done different deals and done different stuff. And now, I'm hosting E3, like that's a whole different ball of wax, but it's still the same idea that was at that spare bedroom on that, that table when we were starting the whole thing off. Right. And so then, for content delivery, it's, a similar thing of trying to be everywhere. I think we didn't, in the beginning, it was very much, trying to get people to come to us and then, go to our SoundCloud or no, Bandcamp, go to our YouTube, right? And now it is more about like, we're on Rooster Teeth. It is that we're on a million different podcast services. It is about understanding that no matter how much we think of ourselves as YouTubers, you usually think of us as podcasters. And so that means being on every device, which often means that the audience is split between Apple and Stitcher and Spotify and all these different, it's
Apple when it works.
Exactly. It's, trying to be in the same, it's trying to be where your audience is going to be, which is something we knew. I remember knowing from IGN when IGN was very anti being on YouTube, that we have a .com and they'll come to us, and that was the wrong call. And we understood that, but even as a small company, you're like, well, we're small. How many places can you be? And, Tim's been so great about making sure we're moving to those different places and going to be there and evolving on them. So that, I think the entire structure of everything has just been evolving and about evolving. You look at the, company right now. And in terms of friendships, I think it's evolved as well in terms of, me being so close to Tim, Nick, and Kevin, them being family, and then, even, you see it in the video for the Kind of Funny podcast of me announcing, the pregnancy, right? Like, I cry in it, obviously, because I cry every time I do anything personal, but it was the fact of, in the land of COVID, and talking to everybody via Slack and, never talking to Cool Greg in person, only talking to him via Slack and stuff like that. It is this thing of those rare moments that we would have at the office, usually, of talking to each other in person around a table or just shooting the shit on the way to, go to Outback Steakhouse, getting to have those moments and try to evolve. How do you run a company? How do you stay friends? How do you be friends with employees? And what does that look like? You know what I mean? Like, it's a weird thing that I wouldn't have understood and didn't understand at the time at IGN, right? And coming up in my career, but now being there, of the fact of like, I will never be Blessing's best friend, right? And that's not because I don't like Blessing. It's not, I love Blessing, but it's that thing of Blessing and I have our partnership and we have our work relationship. And then we have the fact that like we're in way different places in our lives. And it's like this whole thing to wrestle with of what that really is. And so even now is like, Jen and I, expand our family. Literally, it is that idea of, you see that in the video of me talking to my family, my work family, my family, and the fact that now is such a kaleidoscope and spectrum of relationships. Whereas before it was, we are 4 friends who have left the IGN and are doing this together. Whereas now there's different variations and colors on every one of those.
And it's awesome to see how you guys evolved over the past 4 years, 4 years. How long has it been?
More than 6 years now.
Jesus. Oh my God. Yeah.
It's that thing where it feels like it was yesterday and it also feels like a lifetime ago. You know what I mean?
Time's an enigma, but it's awesome to see how you guys evolved from 4 white guys to like having this just like, rainbow coalition of faces. And
totally. And I mean that, again, that's, such a compliment to the audience we attracted, right? Like think about that. That's always, I think personally, something I don't think about because it's not what we actively do. Or I guess it is actively. I don't know. It's naturally how it happened, right? That like everyone we've hired has come from the community. You know what I mean? At no point has somebody come in sight unseen with a resume and been like that. That's not how it is. Me, Tim, and Nick, and the company at large have conversations about what do we need? Like, where are the pain points? What if we needed to bring somebody in? What would that look like? Or what's the next big initiative? As you look at somebody like Snow Mike getting hired, like what does this next year look like? We want to stream. What do we do? Who do we know? And like that's how those conversations start and evolve.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome.
Well, while we have you, I do want to thank you for. Thank you for everything. Thank you for coming here. Thanks for being my Secret Santa and absolutely knocking out of the park. More importantly, thank you for the community, because without you and Kind of Funny, Joe and I would never have met, and we would not have over 100 episodes of the show. So,
and see, like, that's
everything.
First off, of course, thank you both for being Kind of Funny best friends, and thank you for being amazing Kind of Funny best friends. Like I said in your Secret Santa video, right? Like, I don't for a second believe they didn't gerrymander to make sure that you ended up.
I hope they didn't. I really.
But that's the thing, is that they probably didn't, and it just happened that way. But like, you know, Kyle, like you're a true Kind of Funny best friend. You're one of those people that we see organize things, we see interact so positively with the community. We hear from other community members how great you are, right? And that is what's amazing about that to me, is that that's not rare. It's not that, like, you guys in this friendship, you Kyle, you being known in the community as a good guy, like, that's not stuff that's the exception to the rule. That is so many different podcasts that I run into or am on or something, and it's like, oh no, we met because of you guys, and this is how it happened. Like, we're blessed that we're able to have that connective tissue in your life, but more the fact that we're able to attract those kind of people, that we're able to attract people who want to be friends and want to do cool things and want to hang out, right? Like, you're not making this podcast because you want to make $1 million off of it. You're doing this podcast because you want to talk with your friends about video games and you're having a great time doing it.
$1 million bucks would be fine.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I know, if you could get $1 million bucks, it's a great deal. I'm trying every day out there.
Send us games so we can review them and play them early. Like, that's all we want.
Yeah, that's all you need, right? Yeah.
Student loans.
but no, thank you guys.
And Kyle is seriously one of the most genuine, kind souls I've ever met. And like when I think of what is a kind of funny best friend, he's literally the first person I think of. He is just.
I made it all the way through without crying in their comments. So let's wrap it up. So I don't want to cry in front of Grab. I don't want to do it.
And then afterwards, he's just a piece of crap.
Yeah, of course, that's when you give it to him. Yeah, but no, you guys are fantastic, and thank you so much for having me. I'm sorry I had to be short. I'm sorry that it was.
Fine.
Yeah, we're bouncing around a million different topics and stuff, but I'm excited to have you on PS. I love you, Kyle.
I can't wait. It's gonna be a great time.
So I want to thank Greg Miller once again for coming on the show. Wow, that was a lot of news we got to in under an hour. I'm pretty proud of us, Kyle.
I'm super proud. Yeah. I am still, as you put it, decompressing. That was a lot of buildup.
Yeah.
In my mind, probably your mind.
Yep.
Just absolutely floored that Greg Miller took an hour out of his busy schedule to come on our show to talk PlayStation. Like it is. I'm getting even more teary-eyed now. It's so special. I'm so thankful. Especially
because, like, you know, what we told him, you know, that gang of so-and-sos, they got us together.
Absolutely.
You know? Without them, there wouldn't be a show here, but more importantly, it wouldn't be us talking each and every week and having you that I call a brother each and every week.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I love you, make man. You cry there? I love you too. Oh, no, you're breaking down. Don't break down on me, you son of a gun. No. You hold it together.
Oh, hey, let's talk about that state of play last week. How's that sound?
Good. That's great. Let's get into some Flash news. And you know what? Now that Greg's gone, the old stick in the mud's out of here. We could talk about that Jedi Fallen Order. Quick Flash news. Over the summer, Respawn hasn't just announced that over the summer, PlayStation 5 Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order will have a PS5 and Xbox Series X upgrade coming out this summer. Question for you, Kyle, out of this Flash news. If it has an extra trophy list, because we know that Sony has dumb delivery.
Yeah.
Do you think with this little extra, or do you think it's going to have an extra trophy list?
I mean, a different one.
Of it? Like a different one, yeah. You know how Miles Morales, if you bought it on PS5, you have the PS4 and PS5 version? Like, that's what I'm trying to get at here. Do you think it's going to have one of those?
Absolutely.
Would you go for it again?
What I'm hoping is you just upload your save and it pops instantly.
Ooh.
Kind of like what you did, or many people did with the Spider-Man remastered thing on PS5. Like you upload your save, you just have a platinum.
Oh shit, but do I have that save on PlayStation Plus?
You might have it in your cloud. I don't know who goes through that cloud and takes out old game saves. I know I don't. If it's turned on and it automatically uploads for you, it's going to be there.
But still, I wouldn't mind playing that game again.
Oh, hell no. No, I'm not going to do that for Spider-Man whenever I play that again. I'm going to play that game from start to finish and plat it all over again. Same thing with Jedi Fallen Order. I love that game. And I will 100% plat that all over again. You kidding me?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Rick Miller was on the show. Ratchet and Clank State of Play. Let's talk about it, Kyle. Let's just talk about it real quick.
Talk about it. Yeah.
We had our reactions to it last week, right? 16 minutes of unadulterated 4K, 60 FPS, ray tracing, none of those load times. But taking all that you saw in those 16 minutes, what was the one thing that struck you the most out of all of it that still stands almost a week after, removed from that state of play?
I am blown away.
Yeah.
The amount of cars and vehicles and things going on in the background of this game.
Yes.
That is the one thing, thinking back at that state of play, that keeps bringing to the forefront of my mind. It keeps being brought up where you see that scene and you think it's just a cutscene, right? Like, oh, okay, that's just for a cutscene. Looks gorgeous. But then transitions to the gameplay, and it's still just as many vehicles flying around in the background. There's so much going on screen, and it's still so smooth. Like, you don't see any frame rate drops or anything. Like, oh my God. It feels so lived in.
Yep.
That's what I love about what I'm seeing from Ratchet.
I'll allow that term, Kyle.
Lived in?
It feels lived in, yeah. Because I love
where
that
is
description.
this, like, the word bank that you have banned from the show?
I'm creating it. I'm starting a Word doc.
Oh man, Lived In is on that list?
No. Lived In is like, if we say it too much, it will be. But here it fits. Like, you know, we can't say it about every game. Like, if you say, "Oh, Returnal feels lived in," it's like
it doesn't. There's still life
I'm just
there.
saying. I'm like, that's going in. That's banned. You know, if MLG Pro, that's also banned. Banger, also banned. These are terms that are not allowed here. And Awesome Dave thinks he wants to break these rules. He thinks he could get away with it.
Let the record state. See, now we're lawyers. Let the record state. Who used banger when Greg Miller is on the show? Huh?
I allowed it.
You used it.
Fair. Honestly, I was really blown away by the environments and such. Mm-hmm. Like when you're like at the pool, whatever that thing was, with all the robots and just like, seeing the cars and then seeing like the pool of water and the explosions going off, that blew me away. The one thing that I keep on trying to kind of find is like the load screens and how well they're not just like, say, hidden, because when you're falling in that rift, that's definitely load screen.
Yeah.
But how it feels so natural. Because, you know, even with Returnal, it's really impressive. When you hit a loading screen, when you hit a loading screen, it's rare, but you know when it hits. When you're going into that portal and it's zipping you around the map, that's a hidden loading screen. Here, since there's so much going on, there's so much like just wonder around you, it kind of gets distracted because your eyes have so many things to do and is entertained by it. And that's what I love that as well. My one thing to touch at a little note here is my sister-in-law has CRPS, which is a regional pain disorder. So her nerves from her hands and now sadly going up to her neck and her head, her nerves keep on firing synapses, and it's recreating the car crash that she was in. And don't worry, she would want me to tell you this because a lot of people think it's an invisible disease. It's not real. It very much is. And so when I saw the accessibility there, the one thing that she's starting to get is she can't look at bright images that well. Gives her a migraine now. And so seeing that like you can take out the color or certain colors that may trigger some folks is really awesome. And I want to see how that translates to the gamepad as well. That's the one thing that I was kind of looking after and looking for. And it also, because she liked what she saw. She thought Rivet was cute.
Yeah.
I want to see, and I want to know if there's some way to jerry-rig Xbox adaptive controller to that thing.
Ooh.
I want to know.
That'd be nice. That honestly, like, where is PlayStation's answer to that?
I think, sadly, I don't know if there's going to be. Right? Yeah, because the one thing that I think Xbox has been pretty candid about is like that thing doesn't make them money. Yeah. And to them, that's not the point. Mm-hmm. And so like for Sony, it's like, when you're not $1 trillion company, can you actually go out there and do those things?
Let me do a quick Google search and see if that will work.
Yeah, I would love that to be the case, because then we can find a solution for her. Because the one thing that she loves is Nintendo. She loves that damn plumber. Which he sucks at his job, by the way. He sucks at it, and he's a murderer. He'll literally jump on a person, explode their body. Kyle, did you find if there's a solution? What the good old Google search give you? The other thing that I really liked too is the environments, like the grass, the blades of grass, seeing the shadows on them, seeing like the fauna when you're shooting at them. I think it was like the gardening gun, and it turns them into like a. What are those things? What are those things back in the 90s? You make them grow like
chia pets?
Chia pets. Yeah, chia. Like you turn them into a life-size chia pet and then you blow them up.
Oh yeah, the topiary sprinkler.
Yeah, that thing. Like that was awesome to see all the little sprouts on this thing's body. It was dope as all heck.
So from what I could find is there was a way some people have got it to work on the PS4. But I think it has something to do with a certain upgrade thing that you have to download to either the controller or the PlayStation 4. I don't know. But there are videos of showing it working on a PS4, which is
Okay.
cool.
Okay.
So yeah, that's nice.
Yeah. I'm gonna look into it a little bit more because it's something we keep on constantly planning to do, but things constantly constantly change.
Yeah.
And so it is like a big investment of just like, this thing's $100 on its own. And then we got to see what things that she needs, like joysticks and whatnot. And that costs like $50-$60. You'd be surprised how expensive they are.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's something to definitely look into, but I love that more games are taking that initiative. And, we saw it with The Last of Us Part 2. And I think I said it on stream. It's like the thing that is awesome about this is now it's not, people aren't just able to play the most depressing game in the world, but they're also able to play something that's fun and whimsical and cute and adorable. That is Ratchet and Clank. And I love that to see more Sony studios take on accessibility in a big way.
Yeah.
Kyle, this one comes from Benji Sales. We get the Resident Evil 8 reviews. So take it away, because there's a lot of reviews for sure.
Yeah.
But go for it.
Game Informer gave it a 9.25. GameSpot a 9. Easy Allies a 9. Windows Central 4.5 out of 5. PC Gamer 85 out of 100. VG 24/7 a 4 out of 5. GamesBeat 4 out of 5. And IGN gave it an 8.
Now, usually we have like all the little reviews there.
Yeah.
But because Greg Miller was on, I was like, I don't want to just read.
Oh,
paragraphs.
EGM also gave it an 8. That got
All
pushed
right,
down
cool.
to the other page. I forgot that one.
So I want to also end on this note. Metacritic right now sits at an 84. OpenCritic as well sits at an 84. Usually OpenCritic's a little higher, right?
I guess so. Yeah,
I feel like OpenCritic's a little bit more forgiving. I say that there's more there's more sites on there and it's weighed a little differently.
Sure.
So that said, Kyle, we've been playing a whole lot of Resident Evil. We just did our Road to Greatness episode for RE4 finally, because Apple delayed that episode for us. So thank you all the patrons waiting for that episode. It's coming at the end of this week. Really excited. We got a lot of thoughts on that game. But you've been going down the rabbit hole. You're like, I'm not just playing Resident Evil 4. You played Resident Evil 7. Mm-hmm. You beat that, and then you almost gave yourself you almost went into cardiac arrest last night playing Resident Evil 2 Remake.
Yeah, for anyone that doesn't know, I had a panic attack. I don't know if it was from Mr. X. I don't know if it was the realization that Greg Miller was going to be on the show the next day. But yeah, I was playing the game. I had a weird sensation in my chest and instant panic. Yeah. Like the kind of panic attack where every single cell in my body was tingling and I was warm and sweaty and shaking. It was not fun. So am I excited to get scared in RE Village? No. But will I? Probably.
Honest to goodness, Kyle, can I get real with you?
Yeah.
I don't know if my heart can take it.
So the thing that I'm oh man, this sounds so dude bro of me. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. You too, bro.
I'm excited to be chased by a tall lady. I'm excited to be chased by attractive vampires.
Yeah.
I feel like it'll be scary, but not. It'll be fun to look at.
Yeah. I get it. And I think the whole internet agrees with you.
Yeah.
Because the one thing is like Resident Evil 4, which, you know what we didn't do on the Road to Greatness? We did not talk about how scary the game was. I think we kind of just glossed over it. It's not too scary.
No, we talked about it. We talked about the sound.
You're right. A lot of things happened today.
Yeah.
And so, like, it was scary. It still held up. But wasn't like the scariest thing I've ever experienced. No. The sound definitely carries that game. But the thing that we've been playing, which we'll talk about in just a second, Returnal. That game is surprisingly really fucking creepy. And I want nothing of it sometimes. And so, like, I'm already just tensed up by playing Returnal and all the weird cutscenes and making me actually afraid of an astronaut that I don't know if I can go into Village right now. I'm actually kind of considering, I'm like, maybe I wait. Mass Effect's just around the corner.
That's fair.
So maybe I hold out for Mass Effect. But at the same exact time, I really, really love Resident Evil. Like, I am a new fan. I would love to experience it. And seeing all the high marks, it seems like they got another hit on their hands, which is awesome to see. And I'm also very interested in how you get captured and what happens when you do by a big tall lady. You know?
Yeah.
To each his own, I guess. That said, yeah, we're really excited. I think you're going to see a stream or expect a stream going up. Link down below to our Twitch if you want to get in on that action.
Twitch.tv/PS Trophy Room.
Absolutely. With that, let's re-enter the Sony Pony Express.
Yeehaw!
Okay? Yeehaw! Yet again, Kyle, yet again. Dustin Cunningham says, which platinum trophy has the hardest / grindiest for you guys to get? Also, congrats to you and Jen on the baby, Greg. Greg acknowledges it, nods, and says, thank you, good sir.
Yeah, sorry. He had hour time restraint, so we couldn't ask him all
How
those
dare
things.
he make time for us?
Also, hi,
Kyle,
Dustin. I love you.
Hello, Dustin. Kyle, what is the hardest, most grindiest trophy for you?
I'll tell you right now, Returnal's up there.
I'm about to say Returnal.
Returnal's up there.
It's kind of
with all
obnoxious how grindy it is.
It is. I felt a little bit, I got a little bit tired of seeing the same rooms because I've played it so much.
Yeah.
I know exactly the layout of the rooms. I know exactly where the lock mechanism is on the closed doors and where to shoot. I know exactly where the chests are going to be. I know pretty much everything about almost every single room in every single biome.
Yeah.
So having to replay that over and over again and hope and pray that these collectibles show up on that run is getting a little tiresome.
How do you get to see your stats? Can you see that on the PlayStation app of like how long I've been playing said game?
Maybe. I know you can see it in Returnal. If you go into the ship and look at the thing, it'll tell you how long you've been playing for.
Okay.
I know I'm close to 34, 35 hours, maybe longer.
34, 35. It says here, and I think this is bullshit. This is from PS Tracker. It says that I've been playing for 16 hours. Feels like an eternity. I love it though. But yeah, like it's a grindy trophy. I feel like I've been very lucky on the RNG for sure. But yeah, I would say that's pretty grindy. And this is from a guy that's beaten Bloodborne God knows how many times and has a platinum on that. I just feel like in like the Bloodborne trophy is more that of like you're constantly doing something different, where this you're constantly doing something that's the same in hopes of getting that trophy, you know? So I'd say, yeah, Returnal's trophy is probably one of the only negatives I have on that game.
I'm trying to think of what are some of the... I mean, I've said it before, FF7 Remake hard mode was really damn hard. That was kind of hard to get through. Resogun, honestly, another Housemarque game.
Yeah.
Some of those later levels and some of those trophy conditions are super tough.
There are a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. And like
excessive.
Last of Us Part 1 is a great example too, where you have to grind through the factions mode and play both sides of the multiplayer. Had a great time doing it, but that takes a long... Joe, I love that mode. I love it.
Okay.
Yeah.
TPR writes in. He says, what are your guys' thoughts on a possible Infamous reboot with Cole as a protagonist? I know Ghost of Tsushima is probably eating Sucker Punch's time, but personally, I think it would be awesome to see an Infamous game with Cole as a protagonist again, or at the least, a PlayStation 5 remaster of the first two games using the fun hardware. And the Rails traversal is reminiscent of Sunset Overdrive, which is awesome, and I hope hits that PS5 too. Same. Greg Miller ruined my dreams tonight, and I hope he didn't ruin yours. I really hope so, but no promises here. Even if it's just support, sequel, still crossing fingers. I'll believe because you believe TPR. But would you like them to revisit Infamous, Kyle?
Absolutely, I do. I love Infamous. I love Ghost of Tsushima, not as much as you do, Joe, but I still love that game. I think as much as I love Second Son, it is not what I think of Infamous when I think of Infamous, the IP, the franchise. I think of Infamous 2. I think of how good that game is and the characters of Cole and Zeke. Like those are my guys. And so I would love to see an Infamous game with Cole as the protagonist, or if they're going the bad guy route where he is the bad guy. Spoiler alert, if you've never played Infamous,
there's good and bad options.
Yeah, but
and it's been 10 plus years, so y'all need to chill if you yell.
The way 2 ends, I believe.
Yeah,
he's like the big bad.
Who knows?
Yeah, so I would love a new Infamous game for them to learn everything they've learned from Ghost and Second Son, and just seeing what Insomniac's done with Spider-Man and taking hints from them as well and putting it into an Infamous game. Like, hell yes.
I think that's the reason why you're not going to see this game.
It's because of Spidey?
It's because of Spider-Man. You have too many superhero IP. You don't want to get them confused. And I said this, I believe, on last week's episode. Zeke could die in a fire and I would feel nothing. You could make that the cutscene. You can make that the bad option is like you start the game and Cole setting Zeke on fire. I'd side with Cole.
Man.
Now
I know why you didn't ask this question when Greg was here, because Greg's PlayStation icon is Zeke.
Is it really?
Yeah, he would kill you.
Hi, Greg. We didn't get to catch up on this. But Zeke is the fucking worst.
Oh, man.
I can't stand Zeke one bit. I think also Ghost of Tsushima being so popular, what is it, 6.5 million copies of that game? Like in less than a year, like that's tremendous. So just give us another Ghost game. I don't think there's the real need for another Infamous. I'll say that. I'll stake my claim in it. Kyle. Because I played 2 and I'm enjoying what I'm playing. Don't get me wrong. But I'm playing Second Son as well. Just like what I was playing before. I was hopping on Returnal. I was just like, yeah, this is all fine. But nothing strikes me as like, oh, I want this back. I get I get why people love Cole so much and people want him back. So maybe you test the waters with a reboot or, some type of remake or remaster. But
sure,
honestly, I don't think you need to. I think Spider-Man just has it. That is your superhero. You got it. The one thing that I remember a lot of people saying is like, man, if only Infamous was X-Men. That would have been awesome. Now that we have an IP and a superhero people really care about in Spider-Man, I don't think it makes sense. That said, last question on the Sony Pony Express is, and it comes from Mr. Matt, my driving instructor, question mark, exclamation point, emails us in. Emails Kyle. So this guy's old fashioned. That's why I'm thinking Mr. Matt, my driving instructor when I was a child, might be emailing us in. He goes, hey guys, I sent a 5-star review and received a shout out a long time ago. It was under Mr. Matt, and I can neither confirm nor deny if I was your driving instructor, Joe, but I have never taught a driving lesson in my life. Depending on who you are, neither did Mr. Matt. But who am I to take away the thought from you? Always remember 10 and 2. I always just go solid 12. I drive with one hand. Sometimes I just do one.
You're just rolling down the street like this?
Yeah, I guess I'm fulfilling a Hispanic stereotype when I do it, but it's when I'm the most relaxed. Anyway, like he says, I hope you and Kyle are get into a great discussion and hopefully provide some inspiration. I'm on my 98th platinum and 2 trophies away from getting the plat in GTA 5. I assume because of how big GTA 5 is, that's a huge fucking deal. My question is, shall I do a quick platinum for 99 and have GTA for 100, or get the plat and have my 100 as either of the following? Ghost of Tsushima, Horizon Zero Dawn, Bloodborne, Mafia, Death Stranding, AC Origins, AC Odyssey, or any of your suggestions. Kyle, you know what I'm going to say.
I know what you're going to say.
You got to make that trophy feel earned.
Oh, are you not going to read the rest of it?
Oh, sorry. I believe getting the 100th should be a special game. My first was Arkham Asylum back in the day, and I won't list all 98 because who wants to read them? I would.
I
but
would.
not on the show, but I would read them. Keep up the great work. Love the podcast. We love you, Mr. Matt, my
Thanks,
driving
Mr. Matt.
instructor. Again, who knows? It could be him, Kyle. It could be him. 10-2. Again, hey, Mr. Matt, you want to go to Dunkin' Donuts? That's how he talked.
Oh, no.
Him with a little mustache. That's how we would end the driving session. He would take you to this Dunkin' Donuts that is this crazy intersection where like people get off from the highway on, and then there's also people trying to get into the Dunkin' Donuts from the road. Like, it's an off ramp and an on ramp and just a main road, and you have to go to this Dunkin' somehow, and you're under pressure. It's a main road. You have to make a right or sometimes even a goddamn left. They'd allow that. New Jersey's sometimes reckless. And Mr. Matt wanted his medium iced coffee, light and sweet, with 3 sugars. And sometimes he get you a coffee. But that's dangerous because you're a child. You're just now caffeinated behind a vehicle you've only spent 6 hours on. You're buzzed. You're losing it, you know? Kyle, you're letting me run away with it.
I completely zoned out.
What should be Mr. Matt, maybe my driving instructor's 100th trophy? That's
Well-
100th plat.
Well, you go first because I know what yours is going to be.
Do you want it? Here's the thing, Matthew, if I may. We'll lose the Mr. Mister's your dad's name. Do you want it to be a challenge? Go for Bloodborne. If you want to have fun, you go with Ghost of Tsushima.
Sure.
You want a grind, you go with Death Stranding. You want a fun grind, you go with Odyssey.
That's fair.
But really, Bloodborne or Ghost. Games
For me, because I'm actually in the same place. I am currently at 98 platinums myself.
Oh.
And so I'm thinking about number 100. And what I'm thinking I'm going to do personally, I'd love the big milestones to be a game or series or thing that is iconic PlayStation. And unfortunately, my early ones are not that because I didn't care nearly as much about trophies as I do now. But my 50th was Bugsnax because that started off the PS5 and I absolutely love that. But I think for 100, what I'm going to do is I'm very close on Returnal. Very close. Yeah. So I'm going to make that my 99th. And then in the month prior to Ratchet, so like RE Village, the Mass Effect Legendary Edition, I'm going to play those games up to a point where I leave 1 trophy. If I have the time and if I can do it. And then I'll make Ratchet my 100th because that is iconic PlayStation. That is a huge milestone being 100. And it's going to be a fun time. And I like tying it to like specific PlayStation things. So I personally, out of your list, I would go with either Ghost, Horizon, Bloodborne, or Death Stranding as your 100th. But if GTA 5 means a whole lot to you, and if you were that close to that plat, make that your 100th. Make that 100th be something that means a lot to you and shows your dedication.
We were talking about this earlier with Greg, right? You two are monsters. You don't want
We're not.
Greg, the game isn't the life isn't the game, okay?
Yeah, it is.
You can't live a quarter mile.
I played that board game. I played the board game Life. Get out of here. I've eaten Life cereal. It sucks.
It does.
Just like Life does.
I was about to say, it's kind of like, you know, a little like him on Life itself. It's like, oh, this is great. Oh, actually, taxes? Ew, death? Yeah. What is this? So yeah, I think Bloodborne, Ghosts, it'll do you right. I'm actually leaning more on Ghosts because it's just a fun trophy. I think for my 100th, I would want it to be a fun time. You know? That said, that's been the Sony Pony Express. Yeehaw. It's left the station. So long. Thank you for your questions. Kyle, listen, this is going to be a long episode, and I don't care because I got some thoughts on a game that we just played. We'll go in more depth on our Road to Greatness on Returnal, which will be out next week. That's right. 2 Road to Greatnesses for patrons in the month of May. Maybe even a third
my birthday gift to you.
Yeah.
My birthday is next Tuesday.
Oh, happy birthday, Kyle.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, you. Kyle, let's talk a little bit about Returnal before we head on out of here.
Oh, please.
Last week we had Steve on the show. Steve sung this game's praises. It's like it's difficult. It is hard as heck. But man, oh man, is this game going to be something when we get our hands on it? We got our hands on it. Kyle, take it away. What are your thoughts on Returnal? Have you beaten it?
Yes, I have beaten it multiple times.
Ooh.
It is as difficult as you might think.
Mm-hmm.
But once you know what you're looking for, so like the first 5 or 6 runs, I grabbed everything possible.
Same.
Do not play that way. You are hurting yourself so bad if you play that way. What you need to do is you need to know what kind of skills benefit you and your play style. And that goes for guns. Don't just use whatever gun you pick up. Mm-hmm. Like, yes, it might be a little bit, you might have a higher level of a different kind of gun. If it is not your play style, you leave that thing. Yeah. I only use 2 guns in Returnal. 2. Dose. That is the carbine and the Hollow Seeker, which is a light machine gun. The Hollow Seeker, I feel like, is the best damn gun in this entire game, because when you use it, the permanent buffs that you get that are tied into it spawn a portal laser that just shoots enemies alongside you, as well as I believe it's called serrated projectiles, which acts like acid damage, so it just damage over time when you hit enemies, and their health bar turns green and it slowly goes down even without shooting them. And it's so good, and there's so many bullets, so many. You can melt through bosses and enemies in no time. But the thing about Returnal, other than just that one singular gun, it is a great time. Yeah. The audio is perfect. Like you mentioned earlier, it is creepy, and the creepiness sets in at the 4th biome. And I do not want to spoil it, but there is creepy organ music playing throughout the whole biome, and that is my favorite one because of that.
It's actually my favorite boss fight as well.
Yes,
the 4th
agreed.
Biome.
Yeah. But yeah, Returnal's fantastic. It's well worth the $70 if you're here in the Americas. It's well worth your time. It rewards your time too. It's you will die a whole lot, and it'll take a bit to get through this game if you're not if you're not super good on dashing and jumping around projectiles and through projectiles and whatnot. But the good thing that it does do that rewards your time is after the 3rd biome, when you get to the 4th one, when you die, you restart at the 4th one.
Yes.
So there is a decent checkpoint there, so you don't have to go all the way back, which is fantastic.
But the thing that does suck, and right now it is a problem, even for me, I feel like it is definitely a problem, is that there is no saving in a run. So Returnal's a roguelike, which means when you die, you start at the beginning. So if you went to the 3rd level, you die in the 3rd level, guess what? You're all the way back in the 1st level. And as daunting as that may seem, and yes, this game is very difficult. It wants you to learn its language. And that's what this game's really doing. If you played games like Fury, you've played games like this. If you've played any of the Housemarque games like Nex Machina or Resogun, you know that these things are bullet hells, and it rewards you for perfection. So if you don't get hit, you keep doing damage or keep killing enemies as you go, you'll actually get a bonus modifier for, I believe, both the collectible stuff you get in the game, as well as damage you do to your enemies.
Yeah, your adrenaline goes up to 5.
Yes.
And including that, it'll enhance melee damage, regular damage. Certain boosts with like parasites you pick up will give you a shield at a certain point to shield you from one hit, so you don't lose that adrenaline. So
yeah. And as daunting as it may seem, once you unlock like biome 2 or biome 3, those things come rather early in your levels, either though every level's procedurally generated. They come usually really early into your run, but there's some strategies that you can have. Like, for example, the first level, you could clear out the first level, go back to your ship, rest at your ship. You'll actually get health back. Keep on resting until you're at full, and then collect all the health orbs. And then all of a sudden, you increase your max health, and you're kind of like a juggernaut throughout most of level 2 or level 3. And you get to have those mistakes. But Returnal really wants you to speak its language. There's so many parallels between Returnal and a Bloodborne. No jokes aside. You know, they're relentless in teaching you how this game is going to run. And it also relies on the frames, getting the frame right, knowing when you're invincible. Like dodging, you could go through laser beams when you're dodging. You can, again, dodge enemy attacks. Or when you grapple, you have an invincibility frame there, and no one can hurt you. So you can kind of manipulate the game around you to help get and clear the next room. The fights are fan-fucking-tastic, Kyle. They're excellent. They're a whole lot of fun. And yeah, sometimes the RNG doesn't work in your favor, but you manage and you adapt, and you're constantly making bets. And when the bets pay off, it's so rewarding. And when you're fighting, like, you know, any of the bosses, they're hard as all hell in the beginning. But again, once you speak that language and you understand it, the bosses are not actually that hard. Yeah. I in one run, which was under 2 hours, I cleared biome 1, 2, 3, and 4. It's once you get to know what this game is and you open your eyes to it, it just becomes a whole lot of fun. I absolutely love this freaking game. It is my game of the year right now. And part of that has to do with the story. Yeah. The story is so convoluted and told in these parts that you have to arrange yourself. And it goes to show something about this game, which is like usually those things suck. But the questions that you have and the things you piece together, you feel so clever when you do that, oh my God, when you're piecing everything together and you're like, what's actually going on with Celine? Why is she on this alien planet? Why is there this house here? And what significance it plays is brilliant, especially when you get to the first twist in the game. Kyle, I literally texted you like 5 times. I'm like, what is this game? What did I did not see this coming whatsoever. What?
and something that it did that I didn't realize is after you beat it, you have to beat it again to get the true ending. Yeah. There's like an act 3. So when you go through all of that and you see the story, like even when you're trying to piece it together for what they give you the first one run through, seeing what it gives you for after that, I'm sitting there and rethinking and reevaluating everything. Yeah. Because you really don't know anything about Celine at all, except through flashbacks or whatnot. And like you said, there is a point halfway through that kind of gives you a great framework for what Celine is going through and how insane it is and how desperate that makes you feel as a player and how desperate you feel like Celine. You feel like you are desperate to end the cycle now. Yeah. And end it once and for all. And like it is Housemarque. My God. Amazing.
Fantastic.
A couple gripes though.
Yeah.
Why don't I feel the rain in my controller all the time?
Because it would trigger my carpal tunnel. That is why. Honestly, the haptics is great. The haptics is freaking-tastic, and the adaptive triggers work really well because you have like an alt fire ability. So like if you close down your trigger halfway, you'll zoom in, but if you pull the trigger all the way down, you'll access your alt fire. It could be a grenade launcher, big giant freaking laser beam.
Hot take?
Yeah.
Don't use my alt fire at all.
Depends on the alt fire. Other hot take.
Also,
I don't aim
zoom.
down sight. Yeah, exactly.
I don't either.
It does a really good job at like hitting. If you're just in the general area, it hits rather well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it depends on the alt fires when I use it, and when you aim at certain weak points on enemies, it's devastating for them. So that's why I use it a lot, especially on those green enemies that are like trees. Groot's parents. Yeah, I'm making little baby Groot's orphans for that game for sure.
Yeah, it's something else that I love about this game. Again, we'll go super more in depth on Road to Greatness. The enemy design is fantastic.
Oh yes,
I love the way the enemies look. It's so cool. It's creepy, but it's also very alien-like. It doesn't. They look like things that a tint of like something that I know already that exists in real life. But they switched it up and made it so alien like that it feels like it's on a different world.
Yeah. My only thing that my big gripe for the game really is the trophy list is just not good. It's way too grindy, especially for what a lot of like first party games have been. Is it's like, hey, just have fun on this ride, and this one it's like we want you to go through hell. Seems like. But the lack of save right now is a big deal breaker, especially they said they'll have this fixed by the end of this episode, but you know, it's also has crashes when you're putting it in sleep mode or rest mode. So like, and that sucks if you're in a run. I've left the game on purposely so that doesn't happen. You've experienced a goddamn crash, right?
I did. It scared the crap out of me. I was in the run of my life from start to finish. I went all the way to the last biome. It was like a 3-hour run, and there was just one part in this game where there was so many projectiles being shot at me, and all of a sudden the audio just turned off. And I got to move for a brief second or two, and then it froze. And I'm like, uh-oh, this isn't good. I wait and give it a second, just maybe it needs a time to catch up.
Yeah.
Back out to the PS5 home, and there's no audio at all on the PS5. It's like switching between games. There's no clicking, that clicking sound you make when you switch between games on the dashboard. Absolutely nothing. So they're like, okay, let me close out this game. Hopefully this works. I hit close game, and then it says closing game for a solid 6-7 minutes. So I had to turn the power off of my power. What's the word I'm looking for?
Yeah,
the power strip. Yeah, the power strip.
There you go.
I turned that off, and I waited like 10 minutes. Like, oh my god, did I just fry my PlayStation? Did I brick it? Is it gonna come back? And it comes back and rebuilds the database, and thank God that it's okay. And it ran fine ever since that point. But
good.
Very
scary. Did you have to restart your run?
No, it ended. It ended the run, but it saved everything I did in that run, though. Okay.
So
all the collectibles and stuff, it's whatever. So thank God. But
yeah, well, thank God for that. That said, your verdict on Returnal, you're awfully pleased with.
Yes, must buy.
Yeah, same here. And again, those issues that we've been having apparently are going to be solved within the next day. So within this episode coming out, bam, it's there.
Let me retract that last one. Must buy with an asterisk.
Oh, okay.
If roguelites are not your thing, if you know for a fact that they're not your thing, do not buy it.
Okay.
Because I know you're not going to... It's going to feel like a chore. It's going to feel like you're not going to have fun playing it and dying repeatedly and starting all over again.
Honestly, this isn't my first roguelike that I've beaten. So I'm really awesome. It's really awesome to see Sony take a chance on Housemarque and them seemingly really nail it and knock it out of the park. So yeah, I really dig in Returnal. I was really surprised because you know me and the audience knows I really loved Hitman 3, man. Yeah, that was a game for me that I've sunk 100+ hours into, and Returnal is really, also voice acting by the actress as well that plays Celine. She's also the handler in the Hitman series. Knocks it out of the park. This is a solo experience. The whole story, every character is just her, and the voice logs, which gives it a very Bioshock-esque feel when you're going through the world. And dude, some of the things she says are completely demented. And like when the audio call ends or when a log ends, Celine's like, I don't want to become this person.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, because it's strange, and I can't wait to get the true ending tonight. Because I will have this thing plat by the end of the week. That's for sure.
Other quick question.
Go for it.
What we saw before this game came out, there were things of like we would come across dead scouts and they would turn into monsters. Am I wrong in that?
No, you're not wrong. That hasn't happened.
Not happened once. And last run that I bopped in and I got a notification in game that said so and so scavenged your corpse and took a parasite off of you.
Huh.
I have not once had that option for me.
Strange.
Very strange. Unless that's part of the update.
Perhaps.
I don't know. It's very, very odd.
Well, that said, that's been our thoughts on Returnal. That's been the trophy room. What an episode has been for us here. It is a wild because, again, this show would not exist if it wasn't for Greg Miller. We would not know each other if it wasn't for that man.
Nope.
And it's so weird because this show was birthed out of the fact that, Greg Miller wasn't going to do his P.S. I Love You show anymore. And Thanos gauntleted it. We got together. We made a podcast baby. And now we're podcast parents.
Yeah. It's weird. It's weird for you to say that, and even for me to say that, like, the show wouldn't exist without Greg. Yeah. And 100% honestly, and this is not a joke, I wouldn't even know what podcasts are if it wasn't for Greg. I didn't know they were a thing until I searched Last of Us collectible guides and stumbled across IGN Podcast Beyond way back in the day.
Yeah.
Didn't know podcasts were a thing. So without him, like literally all the content that I've made and podcasts I've sat down and talked and met incredible people to talk about their passions and have them talk with me about their passions. It's opened up a door that I will never close. That part of my brain that I never use is being used to its fullest capacity. And I'm just beyond thankful for what he's done for me, for us, for potentially millions of other people like us who just love PlayStation and love video games. Like, it's crazy and humbling and just honored that he was on our show. Like, man, it's going to be a long time to digest this one. I'll tell you that much.
As we've been talking, I've been digesting it. So, Kyle, that's been the Trophy Room, baby. I hope y'all enjoyed it. Next week, make sure rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, on iTunes. It really does help. Apple is now working 110% normal now. So everything's fixed. Tim, Apple, and I drew the line in the sand. We went to Paris, Treaty of Versailles and everything, and we got it done. We said, okay, Trophy Room is back 100% on Apple Podcast. So please, if you like what you heard here today, rate us 5 stars. Tell us why you liked us. It really does help us out, and it helps people discover the show on Apple Podcasts. But before we go, Kyle, is there anything you'd like to spotlight before we leave, sir?
Sure. I like to spotlight myself, Mr. K-Step, on Twitter and on PSN. You can follow all the indie game side of things that I cover over at 61indie.com, twitch.tv/61indie, youtube.com/61indie, and 61indie on Twitter.
And you could reach out to me over at Mr. Badbit on Twitter. You could reach out to the show over at PS Trophy Room. And what we're going to be doing in the next few weeks is kind of testing out some longer episodes. So let us know if you like a longer format or if you like the hour or hour 30-minute format that we've been doing. Let us know on Twitter. We'll get back to you because we want to make the show the best that we can make it. And we've heard some really positive feedback so far. So we're going to keep doing it if y'all keep loving it. That said, again, find us over at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, wherever you find a podcast service, you can find the Trophy Room there. And you can find the Trophy Room over at the Trophy Room Show on YouTube. You can find the video version, see our lovely faces on it. And once again, I want to thank our amazing patrons for making this show possible over at PS Trophy Room. So with all that said, with all that out of the way, everybody, keep your wits about you. Keep hunting and keep playing PlayStation. See y'all.
Love you.